Hi, this video is just to give a brief introduction about how to use the equation editor in Microsoft Office. Probably, I think, in my opinion, the most important thing to being really good at using equation editor is realizing that there's two ways to access pretty much everything. One is through the keyboard and one is by clicking on the screen. The keyboard is definitely going to be a whole lot faster, but then sometimes the screen is the best way to do it if you don't know the shortcuts. So as we go through, I'm going to show both ways, but try to get yourself to where you're just using the keyboard because you'll go through it a lot faster. So if we're using the screen, sorry. If we're using the screen, we want to go to Insert here, and then Equation is there, and then it's going to drop down this box where you could put in like commonly used equations, which I've honestly never ever used. Or you can just go down here to where it says Insert New Equation. So that opens up this box, and then if you look up here now, this ribbon has been opened for Design for Equation Tools, okay? Now, like I said, you want to be able to do this without using the screen, and so the fastest way to do this, I can't show it with my keyboard, or actually I think I can. What you want to do is hit Alt equal, but there's no Alt button on here, so I guess maybe that just won't work after all. Okay, so never mind that. Pretend I didn't do that. So I'm going to hit Alt equals on my keyboard, and you see that it opens that right up. And so you skip that whole process of going to Insert and then Equation and all of that stuff. Okay, so Alt equals. Alt and then equals. Okay, so you see right away now you're in this equation editor. Oops, I just got rid of it. If you backspace it, it gets rid of it. And so let's say that we want to type a fraction. So again, you can use the screen. You can go to the fraction and click on whichever one you want, and then put the numbers in there or the letters or whatever you're doing. And then there you have your fraction. I use the right arrow to get out of the fraction there, and then I can, do whatever else. But the shortcut is to use this slash button. It's the one down by the space bar, not the one up above the equal sign or the enter sign. We'll use that one in a minute. So that slash, and then you hit space, and it turns it into a fraction. So the fastest way to get a fraction is the slash and then the fraction. I'm sorry, the slash and then the space. Okay? So that's that. If we go back here to design, let's say that you want to put in an exponent. You can click on it through here. And so you could say like x squared. That's pretty self-explanatory. But another way to do it would be to just type in the expression by itself without using the keyboard. So you'd use that caret, which is up above 6, and then the squared or whatever variable, and then when you hit space, it automatically goes up there. If you want to hit, let's say if you want more stuff up here, you would just put that in parentheses, and then it would take the whole thing up there. Or your other option is if you do that and then hit the space bar, it makes that little box there, and then you can just type in whatever you need to type in. Okay? So square root, obviously you can go up here to where there's the square root. If I need to do cube root or fourth root or anything like that, then definitely using the screen is easier. I'm not sure how to do it with just the keyboard. But if you don't want to use the screen for a square root, you type in that slash. So notice this is the other slash. This is the one above enter. And then the square root command is that. And then you can type whatever. So thing. And when you hit the space bar, then it puts it over the whole thing. If you want to just have something in there like a number, you could hit the number and then hit space and then whatever else, and it would be outside of the square root. So that space bar is what gets you outside of the square root. So you have other options up here. There's integral, and if you wanted to type in the integral, again, you're going to use that slash. So anytime you want to make like a template kind of thing, you're going to use that slash by the enter sign. The other slash is just for fractions. So this is the slash that's used most often. So you can do int, and then if you do underscore, let's say from 5 caret to 7, and then I hit the space bar, then it puts my bounds there, and I could type in whatever. Obviously though, if you want to use this template instead, that maybe is easier, but if you're trying to go for speed, it's better if you just learn the keyboard shortcuts. You've got the summation stuff in here. Brackets are really useful, and I usually click on these because, for example, if I need to do a piecewise function, the easiest way for me to do that is to put that in as opposed to using the curly bracket on my keyboard, and then that gives me that little box that I can work with, and then I just put in a 2x2 matrix, and then that's where I put in my piecewise function. So that's been the easiest way for me to do that if you end up having to do something like that. So sometimes the screen is better. Most of the time though, I like the keyboard better. Let's say we want to do like some trig stuff. So you see here that we have sine, cosine, all of that stuff. I prefer to just type it in because that's a lot easier. Notice though that before you type in whatever it is that comes after, do you see how that sine stayed kind of like italics? It didn't take it as sine. So what you want to do instead is type sine and then hit a space bar, and then you can type in the angle or whatever, and notice that there's like a little grayish box there. If you keep typing stuff, it's still in that grayish box, so technically that's still in the sine. So you want to hit the right arrow to get out of that, and then you can do your other stuff there, whatever it is that you're gonna do, and then hit the right button to get out of it. Okay, so I'll just kind of show some of these other things. If you need to do like a ray or a vector, you would use that symbol. So it'd be like vector V or whatever. Yeah, so there's, and then segment would be this one right here. You could have segment AB, whatever you're doing. Here's where you've got limits, max, min, logs, that kind of stuff. And limits, again, if you're just doing this with the keyboard, you would type lim, and then just like with the integral, you use that underscore to make it go down, to make it a subscript, and then you have to use parentheses. So I would say, as x goes to infinity, close the parentheses, and then that puts it underneath where you would want it to be, and then you could say like whatever it is. Notice that I'm typing in an infinity like that. On my computer at work, I have to spell out infinity, but if I do that here, obviously it doesn't work. So I don't know why. On some computers it's INFTY, on others it's the whole infinity. That one is weird. The rest of them don't do that, but infinity's kind of the exception. I don't really know what the deal with that is. Okay, so we have that. Here's some other stuff that I pretty much almost never use, but maybe you might need something from there. And then there's matrices, which are obviously pretty important. I already showed you how you could use matrices to do piecewise functions. So that's kind of that template, they call it structures here, that you would be able to access there. So then let's say that you want to use some of this other stuff. Let's say that I want to say x is all real numbers, so here would be this symbol. So you go over here to the symbols, and then for all real numbers, sometimes you have to change this menu. On the older versions of Microsoft Office, this little menu thing here is over here on the left. It's not that big a deal, but still. So letter-like symbols would have that, and then you could say such that x any q is not equal to, and then you could say 6 or whatever, I don't know. So again, if you don't remember the any q, you can go here to basic math, and you see that the not equal to sign is there. So everything is up there for you to click on, but it's nice to know the shortcuts. So I'll show you some more shortcuts that I know off the top of my head. So pi would be /pi, and that works for pretty much any of the Greek letters. I already did theta and iota and phi. There's capital and lowercase Greek letters. So lowercase pi would be like that with lowercase p. And then uppercase pi, you use an uppercase p, and and there's the uppercase pi symbol. So uppercase and lowercase symbols in Greek, you just use uppercase and lowercase letters on your keyboard. The not equal to I already did is any Q. For the plus minus, you just hit plus, minus, and then sometimes you have to hit space. Other times, like here, it just went straight to that. If you want to put in a times sign, you could do times, and that gives you the X. Or you can do bullet, and that gives you like the little dot that we sometimes use. I think division is that? No, I don't remember what division is. I don't know. But division is there. And if you're not sure, if you hover over that, do you see where it pops up and it says /div? So that would be how you could figure out the shortcuts, like if you need to use one that I'm not showing on here. If you want to do less than or equal to, you just do the less than and then the equal sign. So I typed that in and then it automatically went in for me. Same thing with greater than or equal to, I typed in the greater and the equal, and then it just goes in automatically for me. So there's several different menus here. So you have the basic math menu with just these various characters. Greek letters, in case you don't know what they're called, although it's good to just know what they're called anyway. And so here's what I was saying, like this is lowercase p, this is, or pi, sorry. This is uppercase pi, and so all of these would be the uppercase of that. So another example maybe could be delta, that would be lowercase delta, and then here's capital delta. So different ways you can do that. We have letter-like symbols, which this is where you would find like the set of all real numbers, and again, if you hover over it, it tells you the shortcut. In this case, it's /R, the capital matters. Here would be your rational numbers. There's your Z, there's no, or there is the C there. So you've got all the letters that you need. Here's for your natural numbers here. And then just some other random stuff in here that maybe someday you need. Operators would be all of this stuff. And again, like here's the integral, but if you do that, you're not gonna get it like I had it up here where I had the 5 and the 7. None of these have the template thing. These are just the actual picture. If you need a template, you have to go over to the guys in the structures over here. So there's those. Arrows would have arrows, as you can imagine. Negated relations, this is like if you need the not greater than symbol, things like that. Scripts, this, I don't know when you would use some of these, I don't know. Here's where also where you would get that, like the real number R set here, so you could get to those letters here also. Sometimes I have an equation with L in it, like, I'm trying to think of an example. Like the lateral surface area of a pyramid would be the slant height times the area of the base. So in that case, you would want to use that L as opposed to this L, because then that could look like a 1 or some other letter. So sometimes that could be useful for that. And then geometry is not very much, but like here would be the angle symbol. That's, I don't know what that is, but yeah, so there's your other symbols. So that's pretty much the idea. If there's something, oh, I guess there's a couple other things I could mention. The next thing to kind of mention, super important, is never hit backspace, or try to avoid hitting backspace. Fortunately, it hasn't happened during this video, but sometimes when you hit backspace, it freezes, and then you have to completely restart Microsoft Office, and if you don't have stuff saved, then you're pretty much up a creek and you have to start over again. So if you see that you're going to hit backspace, just hit Control-S first, just to avoid having that issue. Trust me, it's a really stinky issue. Some other options, if you look here at these little 3 dots right here, or that's not what I meant to click on, sorry. Here you could change it to linear, makes it kind of smaller. That's not a real good example. If I change this to linear, you can see how like it takes it out of the pretty design. I don't know why you would want to use that, but professional puts it back into what you need. You can also change it to inline, which puts it to the left. by default, it's going to be in display, which is here. But let's say I go here, I'm out of the equation. You notice that the equation design ribbon is closed here. So I'm just here next to the equation. If I hit like a letter, like K, do you see that it went over to the left? So the minute you put like a regular anything outside of the equation thing, then it's going to take it out of the display mode. So just depending on what you want to do, if you want it inline or if you want it to be centered on its own. And then I'm trying to think of what else is on here. I think that's pretty much the important points. So I guess maybe one more thing just to show. Let's say you have some equations. X equals 2, x equals -3, x equals 4, which makes no sense that x is 3 different values, but that's okay. So if I highlight all of them, and then I right-clicked, and then you see it says align at equal sign. So you could set those so that the equal sign matches up. So if you're trying to make it format really nicely, like let's say that you have more out here in front, you see how it still keeps it like nice and sorted out. So that kind of helps you with formatting if you need to mess with that. So, and you can align at other things, like if you wanted to align at the X or something, you could do it that way. So that's kind of it. And if you have any other questions, you can leave a comment or send me an email, and I'd be happy to address whatever else you need help with on here. So hopefully this was helpful. Okay, bye!